What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Welcome to Pretty Dece, your daily entertainment and pop culture show. And if you're like me, you probably spend way too much time of your life with Netflix playing, maybe on a screen in the background, maybe you're actively watching. But if you happen to look away from the screen for a second to experience life as it goes on around you, Netflix has your back because they're experimenting with a new feature that is rolling out this week that is, frankly, really dumb. And basically, this feature lets you replay key scenes in shows. It's a button that pops up on the screen and says, "Watch that scene again." And it pops up in predetermined spots, so it doesn't happen when you looked away to get a text, when you looked away to talk to someone in person. They've programmed it into the show when this is going to happen, and it pops up and says, "Watch that scene again," and replays the scene that just happened, so you don't have to do any finicky rewinding to get back to the right spot or anything like that. Now, that's not inherently bad, but it takes the form of this giant distracting button. It looks exactly like the skip intro button that happens at the beginning of TV shows, which most people I think enjoy, getting to skip the intro of a TV show that you've already watched 10 episodes of just today because it's a Saturday and you haven't put on clothes because you're a garbage human. That's a reasonable thing to do. But distracting me from my show that I'm watching as I'm watching it with a giant button that shows up really big on the screen is maybe not the best way that you could possibly implement this feature. Now, my Netflix account is one of the ones that's deemed lucky enough to have been granted access to this feature to try it out as they are experimenting with it. And I can confirm it is very distracting. This button is huge. At least in the show I was watching, it shows up pretty frequently as well. And because it happens at these pivotal key moments in the show, it's always popping up at a point where you are most invested in the show, you are most in. You're forgetting you're watching a movie, you're in there, and then this button pops up to ask you to watch the scene again. Very, very distracting, quite a bummer. It also, because it is these predetermined spots, which isn't terrible, it doesn't seem to be that useful. You can't use it to say, "Oh man, I just had to walk out of the room to answer a phone call," anything like that, forgot to pause the show, replay that last scene. You can only do it at what they've determined are the important parts. So they seem to really be solving a different problem than the one that I would like them to solve, which is add just chapter markings in the show at the beginning of each scene or something like that, so I can always skip back to the beginning of the current one that I'm on. What they seem to be solving is the thing that people do where they want to go back and rewatch specific scenes way down the fact to remind themselves of what happened in the show, something you would go to YouTube for right now. So if Netflix could somehow give us that functionality where I could share a clip with a friend about a funny scene from The Office like I do now using YouTube, then maybe we'll talk. That might be something that is worthwhile to build into the platform. But as it stands right now, it is an extremely annoying feature that I don't really understand the point of, and it really takes you out of the immersion of watching the show. Now, Netflix says that they're being very non-committal. They're saying that they are just looking to learn, get feedback on this feature and see how people like it, and it may or may not roll out broadly, so here's hoping that it doesn't. So hopefully you can avoid the wonderful experiment that is the "Watch This Scene Again" button. So that's going to do it for Pretty Dece for today. Thank you very much for joining me to definitely first world complain about Netflix a little bit today. If you want to support Pretty Dece, you can do so. Visit prettydeceshow.com/listener support to find those details. Of course, download the podcast version from your favorite podcast delivery platform, Google, Apple, Spotify, all the big ones. Or watch the YouTube version, youtube.com/prettydece to find that. And of course, hit me up on social media if you are so inclined. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you can find me at Pretty Dece Show.